everybody. Welcome to the Get Off Autopilot workshop. You guys, I am so excited. I have been eagerly waiting for today, even though I've been sick for the past 2 weeks, and I almost pushed this back, and then I was like, no, I am doing it. So here we are, the Get Off Autopilot workshop. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I always love for my workshops to be interactive. I feel like that is the way to get the most out of these workshops and to really have the messages that I have for you to hit home. So the way that we do that is by participating in the chat box. To kick things off, why don't you share where you're from, how many kids you have, although I know that there's also women in here that don't have kids, but they're fur moms. So if you're a fur mom, how many fur babies do you have? If you don't have any fur babies or babies of any kind, share a fun fact about yourself. And what is one word that describes how you want to feel as a mom or how you want to feel after this workshop? Like just in general, what is missing from how you're going about your day right now that you would love to embody when you wake up in the morning? So if you can think of that one word, what pops up for you? We've got Jess from Florida, 2 boys, ages 6 and 8. As a mom, I want to feel patient and in control. I love that. As you guys share, I won't be repeating everything throughout the workshop, but I will try to come back to the chat. We've got Bree from Western New York, 3 boys, 2, 4, and 7, and joyful. I love that. Awesome. Keep sharing. I'm going to jump in. Some of you guys know me very well, and some of you don't know me too well at all. And so just a quick explanation, I guess, description of who I am. I am this single mom. I wanted to share single because it's become something that I'm proud of. Not that I want to be single forever, but I know that doing everything on my own as a single mom is very challenging. And because of that, it makes me even more proud as to how I carry myself and to how I feel throughout my day, because it wasn't always this way. But I'm the single mom who is patient. Like, I have a very sensitive, now 4-year-old son, and he has lots of meltdowns, and I feel patient with him even though he's has meltdowns, and I have 100% 24/7 responsibility. I also have daily quality time with my son. His name is Griffin, for those of you guys that don't know. And it used to feel stressful and overwhelming and like, oh, I have like so much other things that I should be doing and want to be doing. But this daily quality time has become time that feels so fulfilling instead of stressful. I also have an emotionally intelligent kid, and it's something that I've always wanted. It hasn't been like a real focus where I wake up every day and I'm like, Griffin, let's talk about your feelings. But I think it's just something that has rubbed off. And the only reason I say that, and the only way that I know that, is because his daycare teacher told me. I went to go pick him up from school the other day, and his teacher said, I just want you to know that your son is the only kid in his class that is able to basically have a meltdown, like cry, and then be able to share how he was feeling and why he was feeling that way. And it just like made my heart so happy. And I'm really proud of that. I'm also the single mom who sparked my own joy and passion in the hardest season of my life, which for me was going through a divorce when my son was 9 months old. And I'm currently spending my weekends in corn pits and trying on Halloween costumes. Not me, but watching my son do it. He landed on 2 costumes. He's going to be Optimus Prime one weekend, I think, for his school little parade. And then he's going to be a skeleton dinosaur for another event that we're going to. So that's me in a nutshell. My promise to you by the end of today, because I don't take you sharing your time with me lightly, and I want you to walk away from this with like a transformation, feeling that shift. So by the end, you're going to know what is keeping you stuck on autopilot and why your energy tank is on empty, why more time is not the answer, why that's not going to give you more presence, energy, patience, really anything, even more time, how to know if you're people pleasing as a mom or in general, and how to stop the cycle. my 4-step framework on getting off of autopilot, and then actual exercises to start living in the present moment and feeling happier. It's at the end that we're going to be doing actual journaling and a visualization practice on removing people pleasing. That's where you're going to actually remove it from your life and feel like you're off of autopilot. So stay until the end if you can. Okay, now a little bit more about my story, but how it relates to what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to fast forward and give you the cliff notes starting in 2021. So I had Griffin in October of 2020. So fast forward just a couple months to 2021, I felt like this was the year where I was in the daily grind and like literally on autopilot. As a new mom, I was living in North Carolina, no support, no friends or family nearby. And I was lying to myself with how hard my life really was. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, to lying to yourself with how hard your life really was or is maybe right now. For me, what that looked like was just thinking like everything was okay and like I'm good was my answer to everything and everything was positive. I was like the positive Polly or Patty or whoever. And I was like, everything's gonna be fine. But 2021 was really when I started to journal and I started to acknowledge, like, wait, things aren't okay. And it's okay to not be okay. And so this was when I really started to realize how much I was on autopilot. Some examples that I realized was I was always working. So I was working, but while I was working, I was also mentally meal planning. I was watching Griffin, probably also while working on my phone. He was in his bouncer, and I was working and texting my family at the same time. I was cooking dinner while thinking of, like, oh, shoot, I have to respond to this email, or I should be doing this for my business. I was doom scrolling on social media so bad. Like, it was at nighttime when I should just be unplugged, and it was just me on my couch next to my partner at the time, just not connecting at all. And I remember like exercising too, since that was part of my morning routine, while constantly looking at Griffin's monitor, while planning my day, while doing all the things. Like looking back, I don't know if any of you feel this right now, but it was like I never did one thing. It was always like this. Like I had a million tabs open in my brain at all times. So fast forward to 2022, I realized, like, after all that sifting and realization, I wanted to simplify and feel less overwhelmed. And I realized that what was in the way was I was self sabotaging and I was in my own way. This was when, as I was going through my divorce, I realized that basically how much I was people pleasing. And I started to question that. Before my marriage, I was with my partner for 8 years. And so I was just reflecting back on, like, wow, like, was I people pleasing the whole time? How did I show up in that relationship? Was I always this way? Was I this way when I was 8 years old? And I just got really curious in 2022 with the goal of wanting to feel less overwhelmed. And then moving into 2023, I felt like I had enough like evidence of who I was, how I got there, and who I wanted to become that in 2023, I started the rewiring, meaning like basically I started taking action so that I started to like not just, have new habits, but I was like becoming this new version of myself. One example is all of the journaling that I've been doing. People started to ask me about like people started saying that I've had a glow up through my divorce, which was odd because most people, it's a difficult time for most people. And they were surprised by that and were asking for journal prompts. And like they were going through a difficult time and were opening up to me about that and asking for support. And I turned my passion of journaling and really just accountability for myself into journal coaching and like helping other women like you through your life transitions. So 2023 was that year. Moving into this year, the one word that recapped how I feel now is free. Thought free mornings. And this was actually inspired by Jess, who's on this call. I put the coffee mug because she told me that one morning she woke up and she was sipping coffee, and it was like I think she said it was like a weird feeling because she had no thoughts on her brain. It was like she was sipping her coffee or making it, and it was like silence instead of the kids' routines and like what she had to do and get the kids to school and pack the lunches and all the things. It was just like peace. And when she said that, I was like, oh, yeah, like, that's what my mornings are. But it was just so cool that she was starting to experience that as well. So, like, thought-free mornings, guilt-free resting. Resting, I used to believe needed to be earned. And now, I felt so much guilt around that. And now I feel like I rest more, and because of that, I'm even more productive. I'm distraction free more often, which feels so freeing. I am like, used to be so glued to my phone. And when Griffin comes home from daycare now, I really don't have my phone on me. On Columbus Day, this past Monday, my twin sister was going to come over and visit, and she called me, and I didn't even hear it. I don't even know where my phone was. And it's so nice not to like always have it on hand. I'm even going camping next weekend with phone. There won't be phone service, but I never used to like go camping just because. So it just feels good to like do more things and not be so distracted all of the time with all the things. And I feel like it's ultimate patience during the hard times, even like my triggers and with my son, and ultimate presence, which feels really cool. It's like something that I never knew that I wanted. And now that I have it, it's like I'm working so hard to keep it because it feels so good. So here's a question for you. Are you on autopilot? I actually am curious. I know you signed up for this, and I'm curious if you feel like you're on autopilot right now, if you might fear like you're like going to be on autopilot, if you can just relate like you've been on autopilot in the past. I gave some examples here of how it might show up for you if you can't relate to some of my examples. Maybe what how autopilot might show up for you is you can't remember what you did yesterday, counting down to the next weekend or vacation, like you're just going through the motions until you get to go to the Bahamas or until you get to go wherever it is that you want to go, feeling disconnected during family time, zoning out during conversations, like you look back and you don't even know what was said, making decisions without even thinking about it. You just say yes without even thinking. The 45-minute phone scroll trance or doom scrolling, like, TikTok, and you look at TikTok I don't have it on my phone anymore because it was that bad for me. Only two experiences of TikTok scrolling. And I was like, oh, that was a bad trance. Or eating, and you basically don't even realize. You're like, oh, I just had lunch, but what even was it? The tomorrow will be different syndrome. This is when you think, okay, tomorrow is the day that I will like do the morning routine or feel more energized or, be more patient with my kids. But then you don't actually do anything different to actually feel that way. Or maybe answering your child or your boss or the email without actually like hearing them. You're just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like, yep, let's do this project. You're just answering them without actually hearing them. I definitely doom scroll at night, especially after a hectic day, says Jess. Yeah, and those are the days that we really shouldn't doom scroll, right? Like that doesn't feel good at the end. Bree is counting down every single day. Yeah. Laura, hi Laura. She's trying to get off autopilot or at bedtime. The tomorrow will be different syndrome is real. Yes, I feel that too. Here's why we need to get off. I know you want to get off because you're here, but besides it not feeling good, it's actually a serious thing. I've been doing research on it as well, and there is a neurological impact on it. Being on autopilot, which the scientific term is the default mode network. And what it is being on autopilot affects our memories. It actually prevents us from forming memories and retaining them. So that's why, if you can relate to like you don't know what happened yesterday, that's why. It's because being on autopilot literally shuts down that part of our brain. And so one reason to get off is like you don't just feel like you're missing out on moments with your kids or looking back like on yesterday or a year from now or 5 years from now, feeling like you're missing out on your life, like you actually are, because it's our brains going into like screensaver mode. And so you're missing out on opportunities for joy every single day. I have a little note for myself about volcanoes, because one time recently my son wanted to play and make like volcanoes, and I thought this would be such a simple time where he could maybe play on his own. We're still working on independent play, but I thought this is also a time where I could see his face light up when the volcano goes out, right? And like comes out and bubbles. And I chose to like sit there with him and like experience that joy with him. Also, when you're on autopilot, you have decreased patience and increased reactivity. So if you ever feel like you are short tempered, this is why. And there actually is a scientific impact on emotional intelligence when you're on autopilot, not only for you, but for your kids too, for younger kids especially. And it really comes down to the fact that when you're on autopilot, you're not really feeling. I kind of just think of a zombie, like you're just going through your day of just like doing things, getting it done, doing the next thing, waiting, getting ready for the next day, doing it all over again. You're not really feeling the feels or processing anything. You're just like going through the motions. And so that impacts your emotional intelligence. Okay, so let's dive into what is keeping you stuck on autopilot. The biggest mistake that moms or women make when trying to get off of autopilot, and whenever I say autopilot from here on out, I really want you to think not just of like zombie mode, but I want you to think of what you really want. So, like when you're trying to feel patient and present and energized and joyful, I think is what Bree said, and creating those memories, the biggest mistakes is that they spend all their time and energy trying to what I call patch the wrong hole. And here's what I mean. I have 4 examples. The first hole is this statement. And I have this little guilty stamp in the corner. So let me know if you're guilty of any of these. Have you ever said or thought, my calendar is so full and my to-do list never ends? Like things just keep getting put on that. And so the fix that you try, if you feel like this is you, is potentially you try to nail down the perfect routine or schedule, thinking that it will help you be more organized or more patient because you have a plan, right? Or maybe you do try and do less. Kate Northrup has a book out there called Do Less, right? So maybe you do try that. Is anybody guilty of this? Laura says yes, calendar, full to-do list, unending. Yep. Yes. Here's why it's not working. Why your fix isn't working. It's because without addressing your underlying beliefs and what I call like your settings, you're going to find something else to fill up that time anyways, and you're going to feel the exact same way. That's why more free time doesn't mean more energy or more patience or more presence, because more often than not, you're filling that time anyways. And if you do have, even if you don't fill that time, when you just don't feel enough deep down. So you're trying to fill that, you're trying to prove to yourself that you're worthy enough. And you'll never do less if you don't feel worthy of doing less. You will find something, even if it's overthinking that entire free time that you have. And that's not helping you. That's keeping you in the same loop. The second hole that I refer to is the mindset that this is just the season of life that I'm in. You can't escape it. This is just the way it is. Has anybody ever said that or thought that? The fix that you may have tried is embracing the chaos. I almost feel like that's common advice that you hear, is that you embrace the chaos, even though it doesn't feel good to you. I see that Bree says hides face. Yes. Jess is guilty too. Bree as well. This one hits for you guys. Yeah. You just embrace the chaos because this is the way it is, right? You've got young kids, maybe you're just busy at work. Your boss gave you tons of projects. It just is what it is. You've got to do it, right? Here's why it's not working, because you are stuck in freeze or fawn mode. If you've never heard of this, it's a stress response. And you probably have heard of flight or fright, or fight, I mean. Flight is when you flee, when our nervous system feels like, oh my gosh, there's so many triggers and so much going on and overstimulation, we leave, right? We try to escape, or we try and fight through it, or we freeze, which is literally like paralyzing, like, oh, I don't know, you don't know what to do. You literally just like stop and give up, or you fawn, and this is where you give in to whatever the situation is. Like, sure, 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 yes, yeah, I'll do that. Yep, you're right. Oh, okay, yes. You just give in, and these stress responses show up in different ways. Some examples that I have for you is like, potentially, if you have kids, watching your kid have these big emotions and you're just kind of sitting back watching in defeat, like, it's just another day, another big emotion, like nothing gets through to them. So almost like, why bother? Or having a lot on your plate, buzzing around, trying to get it all done, feeling stressed and frazzled and like, oh my gosh, like, something else I just got added to my to-do list too. But at the same time, you're not asking for help, right? Or agreeing to all of your kids' requests, or what the other moms are doing, even though you don't want to do it. Like, your kid asks you for something and you're just like, sure, why not? But you don't want to do that, right? You didn't even stop to question that. Or all the other moms are, you know, getting a certain toy for their kids or going out to a certain event, and you don't want to. You just want to stay home, or you don't want to get that toy, but you just do it because everybody else is doing it. The third hole. Let me see. Jess says, yeah, Bree said, hide spaces. Yeah. Give up or give in. Yeah. Okay. So the third hole, the emotional weight of parenting. This used to be huge for me. It still is huge for me. I just know how to work through it now. That the responsibilities and the weight that comes with parenting is taking up all of your energy. And this can come from a lot of different sources. It can come from those kids' meltdowns. It can come from your kids saying no when you ask them to do things. Their just response is no. They'd like even run the other way. Also, anticipatory anxiety. And this even comes into play when your kids are behaving well. And so it blocks you. And so the fix that you try is trying to control their behaviors with strict routines and regimens and rules. Or here you also might try to do less because of that emotional weight. And the same thing applies here, where, if you don't feel worthy of doing less, you're not going to do less. But trying to like have those routines for your kids and rules for your kids to lighten the emotional weight. Why that's not working? Essentially, your kids are still going to be kids at the end of the day. And they are still learning to emotionally regulate. While, as one of my clients in Emotionally Empowered put, they're still learning independence. One of her kids was not happy about getting ready for bath time the other night. And he told her, "You suck," which obviously isn't ideal, but he's 6. And like, he's learning how to state what he needs and what he likes and what he doesn't like. And like, that is something that as parents, we need to learn how to navigate. And that's what something as a kid, there's a lot of emotions in there, right? And so as moms, we're trying sometimes to implement these routines and rules and like behaviors that would work for an adult or even like a teenager for a 5-year-old. My note here about movies is just the other day, I was going to a movie with my parents and Griffin, and my son Griffin, like I said, is 4, a fresh 4, just turned 4. And my dad comes over, and Griffin is getting ready. And right before we leave, he says, "I want to bring Transformers." And I say, "Okay." And he comes over, like literally his arms full. I think he has like 5 Transformers. So I go and get like one of his little backpacks, and he puts all these Transformers in. And my dad is standing there, and his response is, well, Griffin, we're going to a movie and we have to watch the movie. As if like his expectation of my 4-year-old is to drive to the movie theater, which was 30 minutes away with no distractions, watch the movie with no distractions, and then drive home with no distractions. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But actually, he never even opened the Transformers. So it's just realizing that kids will be kids. And that with that, along with what I'm going to teach you in a little bit, will help lessen the emotional weight. The last hole for you, I want to acknowledge that maybe there's somebody on this workshop that has tried making progress towards a passion of your own. So I'm curious if anyone has, like you have, you know, stepped outside and done something or even accomplished something, but anything that you did outside of your typical work or mom responsibilities required you to ask for help. And it felt like such a burden to your family or really to you. And or you think that of those things that you ask for help, nobody's going to be able to do it like you do. So you might as well. Like you'll put a pin in your passion. You might as well just get through it and do these other things. I saw somebody on Instagram recently, and what she wanted to do, the passion thing that I would refer to as passion, is she just wanted to go to a concert with her friend. And what that meant is that her husband would have to put the kids to bed. And she said that she felt so much mom guilt around her husband having to put the kids to bed that she picked out the PJs for each kid that her husband to help her husband with bedtime routine. And she even acknowledged, like, I know that my husband is like fully capable of doing this, but like, I just feel so bad putting this on him. And that's just very real, right? Laura said, I mean, basically every time I want to go do anything, I feel guilty if I'm leaving my son at home with the rest of the family, even just go read a book by or go read by a creek for a while. No, husband is awesome and literally actively wants to go do these things. Exactly. And that's on us, right? That's an internal thing. So it's just a very real thing. The guilt makes it not worth it. But then how do we find joy within ourselves as individuals? Yeah, it's we're holding ourselves to this. And so you know it's not working, right? So did I say the fix? Yeah, there is no fix. The fix isn't the fix. It's that mom guilt got the best of you and you decided that you should quote unquote prioritize your family. So you actually didn't do the thing, right? You don't go read the book by the creek. You don't go to the concert with your friends. And obviously it's not working because now if you think of the totem pole, you tried to be at the middle even. You didn't even try to be at the top. You tried to like be bumped up one and you're at the bottom and you feel even worse. You might feel like you're doing something good for your family by like putting them first, maybe even a little bit heroic, like they come first. But when you don't feel good, everyone else suffers because you're going to start to feel resentful. And especially as moms, we, of course, want our kids to thrive and we want to put them on a pedestal. We want to give them all of the opportunities. But when we are doing that for them and our spouses or partners, and also at work, and like we're giving, 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 giving. And at some point, if you're not feeling this already, it's inevitable that you're going to sit back and just kind of feel like, when is it my time? When will I get the chance to reach my potential? And what even is my potential if I don't know? What even lights me up? And your spark is going to get so small, again, if you're not there yet. And so my goal is that you don't get to that tiny, tiny flicker. It's that we can help you before then. Or if you are at that flicker, you're in that right place too. So all this to say that we're missing the mark. Your feelings are valid always, right? So that feeling that your life is stressful and overwhelming and that you might not be connecting with yourself or with your family and feeling potentially defeated at the end of the day, like collapsing, is real. But those aren't the solutions that are going to get you out of the cycle of impatience and on autopilot, because those aren't the real problems. Autopilot isn't a result of those things that we just went over. Being on autopilot, that zombie mode, being impatient and reactive and all of those things isn't a result of the lack of time and busy schedule, your season of life and having young kids or a busy time at work, your emotionally dysregulated kids, your own proof that you can't break free and how it feels internally, or even, we didn't even cover this, but the amount of self-care that you do or how good your morning routine is. Autopilot is a result of your self-sabotage. We are overwhelmed and stressed pretty consistently, I think you would agree, because of how we are operating internally, not all of these external factors. I looked up the definition of self-sabotage. I was really intrigued to see that it was a verb, which is an action for those of you that may have forgotten that lesson. It's an action and it's intentional or unintentional. I think that it's often unintentional, but it's an unintentional action of destruction of your own happiness, goals, or well being. We are doing this without even knowing on a consistent basis. And it is impacting us. And it is the thing that is keeping us exhausted and in this loop that is the reason that we're not reaching those goals and feeling connected and more present and energized. I want to give you a stove analogy. And you probably have heard this. I did hear this before, but never heard it in the sense of self sabotage. So if you have a hot stove in front of you, right, the coil is burning and you put your hand on it, there is actually a benefit of pain, right? You put your hand on this burning coil, you feel the pain, and it triggers to your brain, ouch, this is hot, this is painful, and you lift your hand off as fast as you can. So that first second of pain is actually helpful because it triggers you, right? It's like, oh, ow, no, no, thank you, don't want this. And it tells you what you want and what you don't want, and you take it off. Sabotage is keeping your hand on it longer, is feeling that pain and keeping your hand there. And that's what we're doing with all of those examples that we just went through. So now we're going to dive into more specific examples of actual self-sabotage. So now that you know that it's self-sabotage, right? It's not, the routine that you need, right? Or even that you need like more meditation or all those things. It's a self-sabotage. So we're going to talk about 4 examples and then their impact on you as well. There are actually 10 different forms of self-sabotage. I am going to be talking to you after this. We're going to go through actually breaking through, and then I'm going to be sharing with you about a group program. And the first thing that we do in that group program is take a quiz where you're going to find out your top saboteurs and how you rank with the rest of them. But we don't have time to go through all 10 of them today. So we're going to go through 4 of them. The first one being victim. So I have this like lime green hand. Again, if you can relate to any and all of this, feel free to pop it into the chat. Jess says, oh boy, LOL, self-sabotage is the worst. Yes. So victim. Victim is the addiction to feeling low, like you have it worse off than somebody else, and like life won't get better for you. Keep in mind, as I'm saying all of these things, it's both intentional and unintentional. I have felt victim before, and I have felt intentionally oh, I have it worse off than somebody else. I have unintentionally, I don't know that I was addicted to that feeling of feeling low. Right? So it's a combination of both of these things. But some examples that you might be able to relate to is maybe saying those things like we said earlier, no one can do it as good as I can, so I have to do it. That's the victim mindset. Or the mindset of this is the season of life, right? This is it. I'm in it. I have to do it. Or constant complaining or venting to a friend, or jealousy. Jealousy could be of your spouse who might have it easier, jealousy of other moms who have certain things or who do certain things, jealousy of other women at work. Maybe they are getting promotions. Also jealousy, or not jealousy, but the victim mindset of parenting and primary parenting. I put that because obviously I'm a single parent, and that's where I felt the victim mindset before, of how single parenting is so freaking hard. And I know that there are parents out there that aren't single parents, but they're the primary, they essentially are, because they're the primary parent. Their spouse just isn't around as often. And that's really difficult. Or if you're not a parent, the workload of a boss, like just falling into that victim mindset of like, you have so many projects and like, it's so hard on you. And the impact on all of this, if you let it fester and if you don't work on these things, is truly wasting your life focusing on those things, subconsciously or very consciously, focusing so much on those internal conversations. Because a lot of times, unless you are complaining, this is all happening in your head. You're thinking these things. This is overthinking thoughts, right? Versus thinking these things, right? That's where that first thought of pain is like actually helpful. It's fine to think this thing of like, oh, she has it better, because it's like, okay, well, wait, what does she have that I want? And then go create it, right? So like we can learn from this. It's the sabotage that's keeping us there versus being proactive in this sense and like going to create your life. Bree says, yes, the primary parent victim over here. Single parenting feels, been there. Yep. I think a lot of you might relate to this one. I can definitely relate to this one, is the overachiever. Feeling worthy only when you accomplish something and are productive, or when people think highly of you, even if you are accomplishing, but other people aren't acknowledging it, right? Or doubting yourself when you aren't performing, or doubting yourself when you're resting. Examples: always doing more. In the mom aspect, I feel like it's usually for our kids. It's like signing them up for more activities, constantly keeping them busy, doing all the things. Or maybe for you as a mom, volunteering for all of the things at school, like doing. Also, overachieving moms or women, it's things like half listening to your child while planning dinner. It's a lot of the things that I mentioned before. I was definitely an overachiever. And it's funny because when I took the quiz, I was an overachiever and I was reading it, and I can so relate to that prior to having Griffin. And now I'm like, oh, I feel like I like set myself free from that. But that was my life to a T. It's like I said earlier, like all the tabs open all of the time. Also trying to work during nap time while also doing chores. My note here about Columbus Day, I mentioned Columbus Day a little bit earlier, but woof, Columbus Day was rough for me. This past Monday, Griffin was off of daycare, and I had wanted to do this presentation for you guys, this one that you are watching right now. And Griffin was actually being pretty good. Like, he was letting me do a little bit of work from time to time in little pockets throughout the day. But at one point, he had me working out in the living room. He didn't want me in the office. So I was like, that's fine. So I was in the living room on the couch with him, and he was snuggling up next to me, which was super cute. But we had like, what was it? Dino Ranch, I think, some TV show on the TV. And then he brought up a loud toy. I think it was a Paw Patrol toy, and all the pups were on a mission. So that was like sirens were going off. And I was also trying to work. And it was just like stimulation overload. And I caught myself in the moment because I was like, oh my gosh, like take a deep breath. And I was like, this is the overachiever in me, because I want to do this presentation. I want to be present with my son. And I just had to pause and ask myself, like, what is important here? Do I have to be doing this? Do I have to be doing this? And we're going to walk through a little bit for the people pleaser in a little bit. But it was just, I was able to catch myself. But this is the overachiever. It's like trying to do all of the things. And if you're not careful, that's what you risk, is like not doing any of it, like quickly doing the presentation and not being present for your son, and snapping, or not your son, your kids, like snapping as well, and like having a messy, like doing all the things. And it feels really crappy if you've never experienced it. And it feels really good when you can catch yourself too. I'll say that. So the impact is feeling exhausted. Also, it's constantly pushing out your measure of achievement. So you'll never actually feel accomplished, because once you do, you're going to set the bar again and do another workshop and create another presentation or do something else for your kids. We should be doing this, this, and this instead. And so instead of feeling fulfilled, you're going to be left feeling empty. And the key here is enjoying the journey. And you're never going to do that when you're sabotaging yourself. Here, you're often going to look back on your motherhood and think, I didn't do enough, and stressing. And you'll remember those stressful times and the anxious times versus I did enough and I enjoyed it. And you have memories of those times as well. The saboteur of avoider. These are avoiding conversations and actions out of fear of conflict. You likely over deliver as an avoider, and you procrastinate on unpleasant tasks. Here are some examples. Oh, Jess says yes, yes, and yes about always raising the bar and not enjoying the journey. Yeah. Examples of the avoider: scrolling social media at night when you said you do your nighttime routine or laundry. I want to point out here, you likely want to do your nighttime routine because you know that washing your face is going to feel nice, but you don't do it, right? You knowingly are sabotaging. You're still scrolling your phone, avoiding difficult conversations with your partner or maybe with your parents when they say they want to babysit and you don't want them to, but you feel like they should have time with your kids. Or maybe when your kid wants chocolate before bed. That's a personal experience where Griffin always asks for chocolate and I just want to avoid the meltdown. And so I used to be like, sure, here, have these Hershey Kisses in bed, not even before bed. Or when you're asked to do an activity or a project at work or school or things like that, avoiding asking for help. Also, avoiding receiving help. There's two sides of that help coin. And procrastinating. Before really digging into self-sabotage, I knew that I was a procrastinator. I'd raise my hand any day for that. And that's what made it so frustrating, is I was so aware. The impact: surface level relationships for a lot of avoiders. You might have a lot of friends, you might be a people pleaser or people person, but surface level. Taking longer to reach your goals if you ever do, and always finding excuses. And again, you're probably aware of that if you're an avoider. With the avoider in particular, I think of a basketball player, and you're both. You're the person that has the ball trying to shoot, and you are the defender. I wish I knew actual names of basketball players, but you're the person blocking the shot. And the avoider is blocking each shot that you're trying to make. And it's nope, nope, nope. When you're trying to get a closer connection with somebody, no. When you're trying to go for that goal, no. When you're trying to do anything, it's you come up with these excuses and you just stop yourself from doing that. I really need to work on these saboteurs. I need this one too. Yes, they're so real. They impact so many areas of our life. So the last one is people pleasing. This one indirectly tries to gain acceptance and affection by helping and being the good girl. Was anyone called the good girl growing up? I was. Also, the people pleaser fears disappointing others on so many levels. Some examples of the people pleaser: posting only positive moments on social media for validation. Always hosting family gatherings, even when she's exhausted. Feeling selfish for having personal goals or ambitions. Buying expensive gifts for your kids' friends' birthdays to impress other parents. Changing your parenting strategies based on others' opinions rather than your instincts and what you want to do. This has happened to me on the playground and at Target. At Target, I once bought my kid a $30 toy. It wasn't even a little $5 thing. My son asked for a toy that was $30. And I didn't want to cause a scene. There were parents around, and I was just sure. Because that's a little bit of avoider and people pleaser. I was just yeah, I wanted to please everybody else around me and please my kid and avoid the conflict. also on the playground, parenting in public is just a different game, I feel like. And this is something to be very aware of. And it's something that I definitely journal through is parenting in public is its own thing. But also neglecting your own health appointments while never missing your children's. Like, have you never made your dentist appointment, but you've always booked out your kids' appointments 6 months in advance, right? So those are some that you might be able to relate to. People pleasers might say some of these things. No, it's fine. I can do it. I'm fine. Really. Don't worry about me. Oh, don't worry about me. I'll eat later. So, like rearranging your schedule for somebody else. I'd love to help with a project, but really you don't want to. It's okay. I didn't really want to do that anyways. So, canceling your plans. I'm sure they didn't mean to hurt my feelings. So this is justifying somebody else's actions based on how you want to feel so that they are not painted in a bad light. I can't say no. They're counting on me and I can't let them down. This is trying to make sure others aren't mad at you. I just want everybody to be happy. It's selfish to take time for myself when my family needs me. I should be able to do it all. What if they think I'm a bad mom? I don't want to bother anybody by asking for help. I'll just do it myself. It's easier that way. Laura says, I've always hated parenting in public. I also had to get used to parenting in front of my now husband when we started dating. Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's something that I had to work on, the parenting in public, internally first. And then that gave me a lot more confidence to do it in front of other people. And even parenting in public is parenting in front of your family. It's like in front of like going over for the holidays too, you know? Okay, let's work through all of this. Okay. So I promised you that we were going to work on people pleasing on this workshop. So what do we have to do? Because we know that, what you were trying to do isn't the solution. So, what you actually need to do is learn how to disrupt your self sabotage. I hope you appreciate my ice bucket challenge gift that I found. So, I have created a 4-step framework. First is awareness, second is saboteur disruption. Third is redirect all of that. And fourth is integrate it. We are going to be doing an expedited version of this, but nonetheless, you are going to be getting an experience of exactly how to do this with people pleasing. So I would love for you to take out your journal or your notes app, open up a Google Doc, and we're going to do some journaling. A quick note on journaling as you are opening up whatever method you want to do. When you journal, there's no right or wrong way. Okay. Whatever comes up is the right thing to come up for you. Trust yourself that like whatever bubbles up is what was meant for you to see. You can also journal free writing. That's typically how I do it. And free writing is just writing in sentences or paragraphs, whatever flows as you're just kind of free writing. But you could also do bullet points, like whatever comes up, just jot it down like that. Another form is letter writing. So what we're doing today is people pleasing. So maybe you write a letter to the people pleaser inside of you, or write a letter to your past self or to your future self, like that sort of thing. Sometimes it's easier to almost remove yourself from journaling and viewing it in that sense to get your juices flowing. Again, today, this is going to be expedited and not spend a ton of time, as much time as we would like in a group session on this, but I'm excited to dig in. Okay, hopefully you have your journaling method in front of you, and we're going to tap into awareness. I have 3 journal prompts for you, and I'm going to give you like 1 to 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes on this. You can answer one question that particularly pops out to you, or you can do it as a journal prompt flow. That's what I refer to as like kind of forming a full journal entry where you start with the top one and then work your way through. Or you might take all the time on like half of one. You might just get started in this short amount of time. So the questions are this: How have you specifically people pleased in relationships? It would be helpful for you to pick one relationship and just kind of reflect on that. What specific experiences come up for you? And how does it make you feel recalling those moments? What feelings come up? And let yourself spiral. If your brain goes in a different direction, let it. You do not have to stick to this, okay? So, I am going to start my timer. We're going to do 2 minutes. I will play some music. I hope that you can hear it. And you'll hear my voice when it's time to come back. Okay, 2 minutes. All right. That was our 2 minutes. I hope that you were able to have something come through. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to really have something come through and get my juices flowing. Other times it's like everything's right there and I just kind of explode. So that was the awareness piece. Oh, everything starts with awareness. Honestly, the awareness piece alone is so eye-opening and will get you so far. But with self-sabotage, we have to disrupt it. So there is a unique way to disrupt each saboteur. And it's a different way that targets each different saboteur. So with people pleasing, what I would love for you to do is pick one of the moments that came up for you and kind of replay it in your head. What happened? Who was there? And ask yourself, what would I do if I was in charge almost? Like, what would I have wanted to do if I could do it all over again? What would I change? Or if you want to use pleasing, people pleaser, what would please me? Taking everybody else out of consideration. So, to get you to start thinking in this way, maybe you would have made a different choice. You would have had a different conversation or had a conversation in general. Or maybe it's something like you would have worn a different outfit. You would have sent a text. You would have done something. So what would have pleased you in that situation? And if you have time, what may have happened if you did that thing? I usually don't spend too much time on, thinking about this aspect, but I do think that it's fun to kind of to go there. So if you have time, if you did that thing, role play it out. What do you think would have happened, or what would you want to have happened back then? Okay, so about a minute here. That was our time here. One of my favorite parts in Emotionally Empowered and our group coaching is sharing after this so that I get to hear like what comes through for you guys, and then even giving more journal prompts based on that, so to making it personal. So I wish that we had time for that today, but I would love to hear in the chat how you're liking these. But moving on to the next one is redirecting. So now we're thinking present moment, removing people pleasing. I also hope that you love this gift. Any Schitt's Creek fans? So redirecting all of this energy, redirecting your people pleasing and self-sabotaging, getting rid of that, right? What is it that you do want in your relationships? What dynamic? If you swapped people pleasing in your relationships, what would you embody instead? How would you show up? So just playing around with these, answering one or both or a different question that comes up for you. Redirecting this, how do you want to show up? And we're doing relationships specifically for this. So what is that for you? What is that vision for you? So 1 minute here, and then next is our visualization. Okay. Now, the final step is to integrate. There are lots of different tools to do this. And what integration is actually integrating it into your life, finding real life examples where you are people pleasing, not just in relationships, but in, with yourself and in all these ways. And then not only having a tool in the moment to snap out of it and disrupt it in the moment, but then a tool like we're about to use right now that you can use to ensure that it sticks. And so what we're going to do today is a shorter visualization. So all of your videos are already off. So I was going to suggest, if you wanted to do that to feel like nobody's watching you, go ahead, but you're good to go there. So what I'm going to do is walk you through that, so that you can start to feel how it will feel once you are truly not only not people pleasing, but also off of autopilot. So I'm going to kickstart some music for us, and then I will guide you through that. So as of right now, just shake off those limbs, shake out your arms, get those energy through you and out of you. And take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling those lungs, holding it at the top if you can, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Again, take a deep breath in and exhale. can let your breath come back to this pace or whatever pace feels good for you, and allow your body to relax with each breath. And as you breathe, imagine yourself standing in front of a large gold mirror. And as you look at your reflection, you see not just your physical self, but layers of expectations, obligations, and the weight of others' needs wrapped around you like fine threads. And these threads represent all of the times where you have said yes when you wanted to say no. The times where you've put other needs before your own. The moments you've silenced your own voice to keep the peace or to not ruffle any feathers. You might see these threads from always volunteering, from never missing a play date, or staying up late to perfect that Pinterest-worthy birthday party or balloon arch. Or you might notice these threads from taking on extra work projects, always being the one to plan gatherings, or never expressing your true opinions to avoid conflict. Take a moment to acknowledge these threads and how even though each one may look so fine, so thin, so light, together they can feel so heavy. These threads came from a place of caring, but now they're holding you back, limiting your movement and stifling your true self. Take a deep breath in and let it go. And now imagine a warm golden light beginning to glow in the center of your chest. This light represents your inner wisdom, your true self that knows that your worth isn't measured by how much you do for others. As this light grows stronger and brighter, you feel a surge of courage and clarity. You realize that you have the power to choose which threads to keep and which to release. With this newfound strength and clarity and courage and glow, you reach up and gently begin to unravel the threads. As you do, feel the lightness that comes with each one releasing, of it sliding off and letting go. As you unravel the thread of always being available for others, you might feel the joy of teaching your kids the value of your time, your presence and patience. As you release the thread of taking on everyone else's tasks, you feel the satisfaction of setting clear, healthy boundaries. Taking that deep breath in and exhale. And as more threads fall away, you start to see your reflection more clearly. The you that stands tall, confident and self-assured. The you that knows it's not selfish to take care of yourself, but necessary. Now, with most of the threads gone, you notice something pretty remarkable. The few threads that remain have transformed into strong golden cords. These represent the commitments that you consciously choose to keep, the relationships you nurture from a place of authentic desire rather than obligation. Look at your reflection now. See how much lighter you appear, how much freer you move. Maybe you're even swaying back and forth with a smile on your face. This is the real you, unburdened by the need to please everybody, empowered to make choices that align with your true self. Take a deep breath and feel this new sense of freedom fill your entire being. That golden light now fills you from your head to your toes. You are in control. You have the power to say no without guilt and yes with genuine enthusiasm. And as you stand there, free and empowered, imagine stepping through the mirror into a world of possibilities. In this world, you prioritize your growth, your dreams, your well-being. And remarkably, you find that by doing this, you're able to show up even more fully for the people that truly matter to you. You realize that by breaking free from people pleasing, you're not just changing your own life, you're setting an example for others. You're showing your children, your friends, and your colleagues what it looks like to live authentically and value yourself. You feel more free, more patient, more passionate, truly present, more you. Take a moment to fully embrace this empowered version of yourself. Feel the strength in your body, the clarity in your mind, the peace in your heart, ready to live life on your terms. When you're ready, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you can slowly open your eyes, carrying with you the knowledge that you have the power to break free from people pleasing and create a life that truly does fulfill you, knowing that you are in control and that your journey to your most authentic, empowered life and self begins now. So take another breath, and again, shake off anything in your body. I hope that you enjoyed that and are feeling a little bit lighter and happier. And I just want to share that what we've done today has actually, it's proven that when you do those things and when you honor your saboteurs, you will actually feel 90% less stressed. and more connected and improve in your career and other cool benefits that I didn't include. Those are actual things that you will feel when you do these things consistently. And I wanted to shout out my client, Jordan, who went from being stressed and stuck in this anxious cycle every single day, where she woke up feeling burdened from the day before. And she felt like she should be grateful because she was a stay-at-home mom and she had the luxury of being that, but she felt numb and on edge every single day. But after working together and doing some of this work together, she felt so much joy. She picked up a new passion and started playing the guitar again. And she felt way more connected with her spouse, her kids, and she had a better relationship with her food. She told me that she wore shorts for the first time in 11 years because she finally felt that much more confident, not only in herself, but in her body, just based on the work that we did, the mindset and the journaling work that we did. Also, tooting the horn of my client, Laura. She had a task on her to-do list that would help her inch towards her dream life, like this awesome, like passion project, potentially life goal. And it stayed on that same to-do list for months. We discovered recently that two of her top saboteurs were restless and hypervigilant. And so we addressed those two things and the ways to disrupt them. We also verbally journaled, I call it, through the other blocks that were keeping her from doing that task. And she ended up taking action on that task within 5 days. I feel like she would have done it a little sooner if she was less busy at work, but still within 5 days. And not just that, but she checked in with me after saying that she is inspired to do even more. Like she found another task that she put on top of her to-do list because she wants to keep doing those things. So that made me really excited to hear. I want to take a quick pause because we've went over a lot today. We went over your habits and thoughts that you might be having and thinking, the problems that you are facing, and what you are doing to try and fix the things, right? And also why they weren't working. You showed up today because you wanted to get off of autopilot and start feeling all these good feelings, right? Happier, patient, more joyful, passionate, energized, present, all the things. And now I literally gave you the tools and told you what was in your way. So now that we're on the same page with that, here's a warning. The hardest part about all of this is healing and going through this on your own. I just gave you what to do. It's simple in theory, but people struggle their entire lives with this, with self-sabotage in general. And even if you can name what yours are, people struggle with people pleasing their whole lives, with avoidance their whole lives, with playing the victim their whole lives, right? Just think maybe back to what courses have you bought, books and programs and ebooks. Like, I don't know. I'm the queen right now of like signing up for things and never even opening the email that delivers the PDF. Have you ever like bought those things? And even if you have, or maybe they're free, a lot of it is generalized. And even if you did do all those things, was it even directed towards your self-sabotage or the problems that you thought you had? Like, have you been downloading the keys to the perfect morning routine, right? Or like the perfect meditation, or like how to prioritize your day when you have a lot of things going on, right? Or has it actually been how to stop avoiding conversations, right? And getting to the juice of like what you actually need to do versus having a coach that actually helps you specifically with what's going on in your real-time life and world, a community who's going through it with you and holds you accountable, guidance and accountability to that, not just here you go, self-paced, and also personalized. What I'm going to share next is the actual program that I'm creating. And the cool thing is that this is the first time I'm offering it. And I have a whole outline of what we're going to be going over so that we hit everything and it's as powerful as it can be. But being a part of this first round especially is I'm going to see what your saboteurs are, and we're going to make it the most powerful for your saboteurs and like tweak it for this group. And it's going to be ultra personalized. So with all of that being said, this is why I've created the self-sabotage detox. Having this realization that self-sabotage is what's in the way blew my mind. And I'm like, this is what people need to be working on, not all of the other stuff. And so we are going to be breaking free from the actual things that have been holding you back from the mom, the employer, CEO, and the woman that you actually want to be. It's a 4-month group coaching experience. We're going to look at the ways that, again, you personally self-sabotage, work all the way through it, not just like today we skimmed through those 4. We're going to do all the way through it. And by the end, you're going to step into confidence, empowerment, and loving and energizing yourself. And you know by now that that ripples into all areas of your life. It'll ripple into your family. It'll ripple into your job, but like taking care of you and you feeling like this light that's glowing, I think will change the world. I had this vision once, and it was like me helping one woman feel brighter and more empowered, and like helping her find her passion again can change the world, because that changes her family. And then that changes how they show up and the impact they have on the world. It changes, at the very least, your family, the way that you feel. You will learn how to silence your inner critic, set unshakable boundaries that feel good. They don't feel guilty. They feel like, yeah, I deserve this, obviously. You'll connect more with those that love you and reignite your passion for life, all while learning to prioritize yourself. I truly don't believe anybody is teaching this. No one is teaching moms and women how to disrupt their self-sabotage, where the direct result is a better relationship with yourself, your kids, and your partner, where you are feeling more patient, even during meltdowns, even during your personal triggers, even during the most stressful days. You can get through that. Even the result of setting a goal, finally, for yourself, that puts a smile on your face when you start thinking about it. Like, when was the last time that you did that? And then actually pursuing it and enjoying your day every day, not just when you're on vacation. So that's what you're about to learn, how to get out of your life. And again, it will improve every area of your life. So here's what's included: 12 live training sessions where we go over all of that, the saboteurs, disruption, lifestyle, and way, way more. 4 months of real life integration exercises and coaching. Intimate group chat for support, questions, and besties who get it. We're going to be doing this and more coaching in the Voxer app, if you're familiar with that. The Journaling Through Human Design bonus course. And you'll get 4 months access to Emotionally Empowered, which is the journaling community that has additional daily journal prompts and weekly workshops. So the total of all that, so you don't have to do the math, is valued at over $10,000. Very quickly putting a pink X through that, because I'm not going to charge you that. What I'm charging for this is under $3,000. But since you are watching this workshop and participating, I have an extra bonus for you, where you actually get this for 4 payments of $597 and a bonus 60-minute one-on-one call with me. Those are usually $300. So you're getting all of that when you sign up within 48 hours. And something that I always think of when I invest in anything, even if it's like a chai latte with oat milk, which I think is insanely overpriced at Starbucks, which is why I ask this truly for everything, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Are the calories worth it? Is the price worth it, right? So I'm going to ask you that too. Would it be worth it? I think the total price, it's like $2,300 with the discount. It's over $600 off within the next 2 days. Would it be worth it? $2,300 over the course of your life, if the only thing were to come from this was that you could look back in your life from 1 year and feel like it wasn't a blur. You actually felt like you were the mom that you wanted to be. You finally dealt with people-pleasing behaviors that you've been feeling like you had since you were 14. Would it be worth it if you actually liked your life? and now maybe even have more mom friends? Would it be worth it if you remembered the holidays this year and you didn't look back and you felt like you were a stress ball the whole time? Would it be worth it if your kids saw their mom light up again or light up for the first time? That like breaks my heart to think that your kids may not have seen you happy and like fulfilled ever. Would it be worth it if you gained the confidence and got the promotion or simply had something for yourself, for you? So, first or last, because I'm wrapping up right now, I want to celebrate those that have joined already. We had women who I've been chatting with about this, and they saw the value in self sabotage and overcoming this. We have Bree. I hope you guys don't mind me outing your specific saboteurs, but we're going to be working with her. Everybody has all the saboteurs, I want to say, but stickler, hypervigilant, victim. Jess, we've got the overachiever, people pleaser, and stickler. We've got Liz, who just signed up like right before this call. So she still has to take the quiz. I myself am the people pleaser, avoider, and hyperachiever, the overachiever. So thank you for you three signing up already. I can't wait to see who else signs up within the next 2 days. But we actually start November 4th. So you have time to think it over. I want to thank you to the moon and back so much, truly, for spending this time with me today. Reach out if you just want to talk. I would love to hear your biggest takeaway from this workshop. Reach out if you have any questions. There are no strings attached by reaching out to me. I will not handcuff you and like make you sign up. I am not that type of person. So just tell me how today hit for you, how it landed, if you had any breakthroughs. I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for your time today. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.